Yeah, I'm just going to take the opportunity to speak about one of our youth programs we've got happening, and I suppose just looking at tapping into your youth, because they are an asset, and this is just one of the programs we've been running to actually do that. So I'm just going to play this quick promo video for the congresses we've been running. So I have been working as an environment officer at the Swan Hill Rural City Council, and I've just moved over to community planning. And this is one of the congresses that we've been getting involved with, so we work in partnership with our youth department. And how I suppose it got started is when I was at uni, I had some experience. I connected with OzGREEN, which was an organisation who had started when a couple of teachers that were teaching at a school up near Sydney experienced, they had a massive fish kill in the river next to the school. And what they observed from that is that the kids were really passionate about it. They were quite angry about it, but they had no skills, no idea how to actually go from that point of passion and anger to actually doing something about it. And that, I suppose, was challenging for those teachers, because if they're investing all this time into this next generation, and this next generation are passionate and they do care, but they have none of the tools to actually put that into action, then what's going wrong with our system as such. So they stopped being teachers. They started up an organisation called OzGREEN, which is basically a non-for-profit environmental youth leadership organisation, or leadership in general organisation, and developed a model to actually help young people go from knowing about the issues to actually delivering and getting involved in their communities on it. So I suppose to start with, I just want you to think about, like, if there's been a time where you've heard about something that you've been really concerned about, or you're passionate about, and you haven't felt like you could do anything about it. I'm not sure if anyone's experienced that. I know I sure have, and that's how I got connected with OzGREEN personally. But it's like not a nice place to be. You've got to choose whether you're going to bury your head in the sand about it, whether you're just going to go get stuffed and not worry about it, which often young people do, or you just sort of struggle with it, and it's not a great place to be. So the congresses that we've been running, it's taken that OzGREEN model, and they said, this is great, there's great things happening with it. How do we actually expand that out so that a heap of different regions can actually utilise it? And how can we then train local people? So for example, the first one they ran was in Sydney, but we might not be able to send all our kids to Sydney. Why can't we, out in these rural areas, get access to that sort of leadership training? And we have capacity within our community. We have amazing young people, but how do we actually utilise that? So it's congresses that connect all over the world. So one year we connected in with India, and another one, El Salvador, we connected with. So you're taking these kids that are off on this little, block of land, and you're connecting them with worldwide issues, and you're connecting them with people across the globe. So the process, just quickly, because it's a really simple one, and it's something that you can pick up not just with environmental issues, but across the board with whether you're like, I work closely with our youth services crew, and we're looking at, let's try to apply the model to like other issues you want to cover, like other needs in the community, whether that's, say, bullying or drug use or things like that. So we start with focus, and that's basically looking at what's the issues. So during this Congress, we will present on the current state of environmental issues, and it's peer-to-peer learning. So it's teenagers that present the information to their peers, and they present on the most recent facts. So you're not getting decisions made based off just what's been said in the media. You're actually presenting to them the latest information. You're getting expert advice. So for environmental issues, it's around sustainability, it's around climate change, it's the cutting edge science that we're presenting to them. And we're talking about the current state of the planet, like what's the statistics with poverty, what's the state of the Murray-Darling Basin at the moment, and what's the statistics within our local community as far as things like droughts and farming and issues that we have locally. And then we go on to vision. So we look at the issues, we acknowledge their concerns, and then we go, but what do you actually want it to be like? If this is where we are now, how do you actually want the future of your town in your perfect dream, idealistic world to look like? And it's a really democratic process. Everyone has a say. So we have about 70 people at each of our congresses. They all sit, they write, they build with clay what they actually want the town to look like. And then we grab a few that say that, you know, we say who's good with words, and they pull it together into a vision statement. And I think I've thrown, this is a vision statement from, this was one of our younger congresses. Normally we try high school kids, but this was actually year 5 to 8s. So we don't have anything to do with this vision statement. We give the word, we get the kids to collect the words and they write the vision statement. So I'll just read it out. To give you, I wanted to put this up to give you the idea of the depth. Like this is a younger one. You can imagine when we get the older students, what sort of visions they get. So this is in our community and the world. Everyone is happy because the planet is healthy. We have a healthy Murray River system with clear water. There are animals, healthy animals everywhere, and our native animals are prospering. We have enough water and fresh and clean air. There are plants and flowers everywhere. We have healthy farms and grow local food. Wind and solar power our towns. We get around in electric cars and on bikes. We protect our Indigenous cultural places and celebrate our cultural places and our culture. So that's, it might sound like quite airy-fairy, but like that's their deepest desires, I suppose. That's what they're sitting down and going, if the world was perfect, what would it be like? And that's what they come up with. And then we go in from that vision to change. So we go, okay, we've looked at where we are at the moment as a community or as the world. This is where you want to be. What actually has to happen to move from that place to the next place? And they come up with all these ideas, and it's introducing them to brainstorming, and often for the first time because they won't have done that, and just anything goes, and they come up with really crazy ideas. Sometimes it's hard to untap that creativity because they just don't get that space to do that. But yeah, once they're off into that, they come up with all these crazy ideas, and then we move into action, which is around now, you know, what can you specifically see yourself doing? And we're going to action plan around that. So you've moved them from a process of hearing and acknowledging their concerns all the way through to action planning. And again, action planning is often, at this age, kids have never even done it. So you're teaching them all these new skills along the way. So I'm just going to throw on a clip that the kids put together from our 2010 Congress, just to try to give you a feel of what actually happens in these congresses.
3-day OzGREEN Youth Leading Australia Congress in Swan Hill.
I'm most concerned about the water supply and how the farmers don't have enough water to maintain their crops. I'm most concerned about the locust plague and how they're eating all the farmers' crops. I'm really concerned about how we're using more resources than we have. Even in Australia, we've only got a relatively small population, but we're using massive amounts. I'm concerned about how people's attitudes towards the environment. We don't take things for granted. We wanted a positive mind change, but before that could happen, we had to change our attitudes. We have now found alternatives and different sources of renewable energy. We had the opportunity to change, so we gather around people.
The best part of facilitating has probably been getting to work with a group of youth from a wide range of diverse backgrounds and getting to hear their stories, see where they're coming from and their position on the environment.
We must work together as a community and trust each other. I like it how we can cooperate
And work on problems with the environment.
Something about young people that they have the ability to influence the whole community.
Just watch you lights will guide you home and ignite.
We had the opportunity to change, and so we took it and we have never looked back.
I will try to fix you.
My highlight was probably meeting other people, gaining some confidence.
I really enjoyed working with other people.
Everyone lived like us, we would need 4 planets. Regional area, a lot of these kids are more connected to the natural environment.
My highlight was everyone having their own idea and you combine yours with other people.
Ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
I facilitated the Congress the first year in 2010, that was that Congress. And ever since then we've actually had our own high school kids basically lead it. So council plays a role in logistics as such, to pull the schools together. And from there it's just our young people that have been trained to lead it, and then they often participate and then want to choose to lead it the next year. As far as the outcomes of it, initially from when they start before the Congress to the end of the Congress, it's fairly effective. They say, increased understanding of climate change and sustainability goes from 3 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. This is them marking it themselves. Personal confidence in leadership capacity goes from 4 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. This is average, by the way. And increased connections with other change makers locally and globally goes from 2 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. So all of a sudden they can see that they connect with people all over Australia and all over the world. And they also do their own personal eco footprints. And that's 12 months later, they get a range between, reducing it between 30 and 75%. Some of the local outcomes from the action plans, sorry, I'm going to be a bit in the way, is we've got lots of kids that want to do, say, green weeks in their schools, sustainability days, and they actually lead it. So there's a teacher supporting them in it, but they're, like, this is a year 6 student and led the whole school through an entire round of activities. So lots of Green Day activities. They always invite us out there to take part in it or speak about environmental issues. Tree planting days, energy saving stuff they've organised. We've had a heap of community gardens, orchards and chook pens start. This is the group that initially helped coordinated the first Congress. And this was after the Congress, and one of the ideas they spoke about is that they wanted to do something for Earth Hour, and they wanted to run around in costumes. So they wanted like a Mr. Whippy van to like put the music on and go around during Earth Hour and hand out snow cones. So it's just an example of like an idea that if you just let them run with it, like it can actually happen. So that all sounded quite crazy to me, but the training we'd done had said, no, you've just got to smile and nod. If it's something that isn't possible, that's for them to work out, not you to work out. I think the most challenging action plan we had come out of an event was these Year 5 students that wanted to clone tigers. And, I'm standing up there asking, are you sure this is something you can literally see yourself doing? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay. We had one of the youth facilitators on that group, and he came out just like, you're going to have to take them. But, this is the thing. They got the local hospital, they had this spray painting guy there, so they did their signage. We didn't have a Mr. Whippy van in Swan Hill, so they spoke to the equivalent of Green Corps, who have this troopy, so they decorated the Green Corps troopy as such. And then they wanted more people to hear about it, so they went live on the radio, the mainstream radio, and said to people, if you go knock on all your doors, get people to turn the lights off, and then we'll come to your street. So they had a few people call in. We've had youth meet with our MP and talk about issues that concern them. And also they went out and they've done like surveying of what the community actually thinks about that, whether the community likes solar in this case. They've asked what are people scared of, just in general, and got to understand the older population a bit more from that. We've also incorporated in our sustainability, so these guys that are keen about sustainability, into youth council. So they were already going to have a sort of like a underage disco type thing, and they made it a disco for a cause, which was a green rave. And we've sort of taken that. That wasn't amazingly successful as far as, I suppose it was, like you're always learning along the way, but they're like, let's do it better. So now we basically our youth council recruits directly out of this Congress, and about 90% of our youth council is directly from these congresses. Our youth officer just spends the 3 days at the Congress and just grabs them basically on their way out, which has been fantastic because it's setting up a framework where we can continue to support them. So this was just a photo from our youth awards, and I think not like all but one there are from the Congress, and they coordinate our first ever youth awards just this year. Another project that happened was around like nature deficiency disorder sort of stuff. Kids are acknowledging they're not getting out and about. Even the kids on the farms aren't staying connected with the environment. So these guys did no phones, no iPads, no technology for a night. So we all camped. They invited me out there. I don't know why I went, but they all camped. So this is out at Menangatang with no technology for the night, and they invited the whole school. So that was a really great success. And this is one of the last projects we're getting involved with OzGREEN, which is looking at the research around if we can connect kids back, get them outdoors again, how that can address some of those problems around, one, not looking after the environment, and two, is that nature deficiency disorder that they're looking into a lot now, which is just kids are just not spending that time outdoors. So this is one of our local guys that facilitated, and he's going to get involved on the photography aspect of it because he's taken up photography since then. Just a few comments from what these guys have said who have been trained. I won't read through that. Keep moving. So our learnings, I wrote that down because it's hard. Like you saw those statistics of straight after the Congress, what they've learnt, also some of the outcomes of the actions. But I'm always asking longer term, like, in 5 years' time, has that even made a difference at all, or like, are we even any better off? And obviously that's really hard to measure. And I don't think, particularly with social capacity, you're never going to totally get that. But I do see aspects of it like, I was at a youth event the other day, not a youth event, sorry, a community event, and you do see kids walking around that I know for a fact they've met at the congresses, and they might be at a school 2 hours apart, and you can still see they're still connecting with each other. You'll always get kids coming up and talking to you you won't even know who they are because I don't remember them all. But everywhere you go, basically, you'll get kids calling out to you, and you'll know it's just from the Youth Congress because you don't know them from anywhere else. But yeah, learnings, consultation is just, I encourage people to go deeper with youth. Like, if you give them a survey and say, you know, what are you most concerned about? What are you going to have for lunch? Alcohol and drugs, or your future in 10 years, they're going to tick what they're going to have for lunch because that's what's the front of their mind. So giving them the information brings out this depth that they do totally have. You just need to sort of nurture that to go deeper with them. And what do you really want though? Just are you tapping into the potential of your youth? So they don't have the skills at the time to communicate well. If they're concerned about something, they might yell at you because of it. You know, they're not at that stage that we're at yet, I suppose, as adults. They don't know how to action plan. They don't always know how to deal with their feelings around it. So normalising that for them and helping them shift is a real step forward for your community, I think. And then the frameworks that actually support them after it. So we've learnt much better in the last 4 years to connect them in with Youth Council. Often they'll go back to schools. You've got to think about where you're sending them back. So if they're real passionate and they go back to schools and they get told to get back in this box and conform and no, you can't do that, then that can be damaging as well. And we've had that in many cases. They've gone back with great ideas and they've been told, no, you can't do that. So we don't want to set them up to fail as such. And yeah, just that this Youth Leading the World model is really accessible, it's adaptable and it's low cost. It has given Swan Hill a lot of exposure because our youth are out doing stuff. They're getting up, they're public speaking. They're being asked to, you know, represent youth from a Murray perspective. And yeah, just heading up, like they head to Sydney to do some training now and then and different aspects like that.